keeping up with your stats, keeping up with your numbers. We made 1 million in our second year in practice. We're trying to help as many chiropractors and future chiropractors do the same to help as many people as possible. I don't run any ads, so if you enjoy the content, please subscribe and share it with your colleagues and future colleagues to get on the path to victory.
You have to understand how things are up here.
It could be in chiropractic, it could be on a different business, but if you don't track what you're doing, you're never gonna have time or know what to fix exactly. Recently, I hate wasting my time. But recently I had a recent grad reach out and he called me and say, hey, this is, what's going on in my office. I'm like, okay, so, and I started talking about his stats. Like, can you give me this percentage? Can you give me this percentage? And he started like telling me everything. And he kept going without me asking. So he knew his stats. So I took an hour of my day to talk with him and help him because he cares about his business. But if he didn't know his numbers, I was going to be like, oh, okay, buddy, we need to do something about it. Because if you don't know your numbers, you cannot fix anything. And I remember one time we were actually, I'm going to say name, we were talking with Chandil through a webcam as part of a class. And he mentioned, I know who's going to be successful as a student when they know how much money they have on their bank account. When they look at it on the daily as a student, that means you're tracking your stuff, and that's exactly what you're going to do with your office as well.
Right. I think it's good, even as students, to get in the habit of tracking something, whether it's your bank account or how you spend your time, right? Like counting your macros. I mean, I'm a big numbers person. I love numbers. So it's really easy for me to do stats, to keep stats. But it's not just about like keeping numbers and keeping them, like actually keeping up with them, but knowing what the numbers mean and what their significance is. So
that is the most important.
It's one thing to know like, okay, this amount of leads came in, or we had this amount of new patients. Where did they come from? What's the source? Why are they coming in? How did we acquire them? Did they convert, right? What's our conversion rate?
What is your acquisition number? A lot of chiropractors don't know that, and they just keep running different leads, and they don't even know their acquisition number.
For us, too, a big mistake that we made, especially in the beginning, was overhead, tracking our overhead. We didn't even know how much money was flowing out of our account until we would get to the end of the month and we're like, where's all of our money? We're like, we thought we did better this month, but we had such high expenses. And then whenever you know that number, you can actually cut back on them, right? What gets measured gets improved. If you don't track it, you can't fix it. So I highly encourage doctors and students to track your numbers. Keep stats of things. That way you can talk about it with your business partner, with your staff. You can go over things. It just helps to improve the business as a whole.
Correct. Yeah. And something we did recently, and again, this from our mistakes. That way you guys don't need to do our same mistakes. If you can avoid it, it's going to save you a lot of time and money. But recently with Stephanie, actually, we were talking and we went over our stats and she read a number and said, okay, this is what we need to fix because this will fix this and this will fix that. It took her literally 10 seconds to like talk about that. And we were like, oh, okay, we were thinking it was going to be from here to here. And she was like, no, it's this, this, and this. And as we started implementing that from 2 weeks ago, like we've seen the change.
That's exactly right. And along those lines too, we had a call with our mentor and we were going over our stats. We were talking about the numbers and she said, okay, based on this number, you guys probably aren't doing this. And we were like, man, if she knows that, she knows these numbers, she knows what they mean so well. And now we have a system to improve that. We have a process in place to improve those numbers and actually like what they mean. And that's so important that it's not just a number. It's not just a stat. There's a significance and a why behind that stat. And that's why it's so important to keep those stats because it keeps the temperature of your entire office. You are the thermostat in your office, right? Only you can improve or decrease those numbers. And that's what we want to do. By tracking them, we can change them.
Yes, and we go over the stats every night because that's what it was recommended for us and it actually works. And we go over the stats every week with our staff as well. And our staff already knows like, wait, we need to talk about this because something is not making sense. So they're already understanding the stats, not just sitting down and talk and, this. Now they can figure out where's the mistake and how can we fix that mistake based on our stats.
That's exactly right. So in all of our Victory offices, we have pretty much a template. We have an Excel sheet that we use for each of our offices. We have certain measures that we want to track. We have certain KPIs that we want people to get to. We have lead numbers that we want to get to, and that really just helps us keep in automated office. And then it's reproducible, right? So we can open or we can acquire a third location. We can use the same numbers, and it's still, the same system. It works wherever you are.
As we talk with our doctors from the different locations, we already know what they're doing, what they're not doing based on the stats. So that's why we highly recommend going over stats. There's different software nowadays. We're pretty old school. We stay with the Excel sheet. That's what we like, and that's what we replicate with all the victories. So I highly recommend you to go over your stats on the daily. If you're in school, you don't have to go over stats, but how Emily mentioned, habits, lifestyle, even if it's macros, your bank account, just know your numbers, and it's going to help you get on that habit to know your stats on the future. So if you have any question, you can reach out to us via Instagram, you can DM, or you can text us.